But you need a certain aptitude to run for president. You need a high IQ. I'm not sure that Stephen has that.
I could say I put my IQ up against yours any day of the week, but I'm not going to let you off the hook because none of that is important. That businesses that are accustomed to being patronized were compromised by you because you showed up.
At 6:30 a.m. on Tuesday morning, the President of the United States woke up, picked up his phone, and posted a multi-sentence rant about a sports talk show host. And somebody on X saw this entire thing coming 2 days before it happened. Underneath the very first clip of Trump responding to Stephen A. Smith, a clip that's currently sitting at 7 million views at the time that we're recording this video, by the way, one reply just gave us a look into everything that was about to unfold, saying, "You just gave him content for the next year. Nice job, man." Every person on that app understood what had just happened, except apparently the two men that were involved. But here's what makes this different from every Trump feud and every other Stephen A. Smith feud. And believe me, both of these two have feuds that can make this video at least 5 hours long if we wanted to. 1 year ago, Donald Trump wasn't calling Stephen A. Smith dumb. He was actually calling him smart on live television.
He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. I love watching him. He's got great entertainment skills, which is very important. I'd love to see him run.
The man was practically begging Stephen A. to run for president. And 1 year ago, almost to the exact day, Stephen A. Smith got caught at an NBA Finals game doing the exact same thing he just spent the last 48 hours roasting the president for. Now, before we get to the video, I am not necessarily taking one person's side over the other. This is not a political video. This is just one of the most bizarre beefs that we currently have going on right now, and I felt like it was perfect Flightmiketv material. Now, we're almost at 100,000 subscribers, so if you want more content like this, make sure you subscribe and turn on our notifications. And now that we got all that out of the way, let's get to today's video because it's absolutely hilarious. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? So this all starts with game 3 of the NBA Finals, and to get into game 3 of the NBA Finals, there were multiple barriers. One is you had to be flushed with cash because the price of a ticket to get into Madison Square Garden was at 6 figures if you wanted to sit courtside, and in the tens of thousands if you wanted to even get into the arena. Once you got into the arena, you'd have to go through a significantly enhanced security because the freaking president of the United States was in the building. So the president decides he's coming to the game, and Trump shows up to MSG with his granddaughter Kai, the Knicks owner James Dolan, and a couple of cabinet members and his Secret Service, which means multiple street closures, gridlock in Midtown, and brutal security lines. And several blocks around the garden got shut down, which ruined a fan watch party. Stephen A. Smith, who's a Knicks fan, a New Yorker, and literally the loudest man in sports media, draws a line in the sand, saying this about Trump showing up to game 3.
This president has no business showing up in New York City. It is selfish, it is narcissistic, it is ridiculous that he is coming to this game.
And probably the funniest part of all is Stephen A. Smith said that if the Knicks lost, it's one man's fault.
If they lose tonight, I'm looking right at him, blaming the president of the United States of America if the New York Knicks lose this tonight.
And of course, Stephen A. Smith has said a lot of wacky stuff throughout his career, but to be fair to Stephen A. Smith, and I'm being fair to everybody in this video, he does have a point. Stephen A. insists that this wasn't political. He said it had nothing to do with politics and everything to do with disrupting the Knicks' energy.
I would say the same thing if it were Obama, George W. I don't give a damn we went back to Reagan. This is not a football stadium in some space in Texas. This is the Garden. This is Midtown Manhattan. You have any idea what the congestion is going to be like in New York City here?
Take that however you want, but he said it on record, and I could honestly see the argument. You could see when Trump was shown at MSG wasn't necessarily thrilled about having him in the building. Now, whether this is because New York is predominantly a left-leaning state, or if it's the fact that a bunch of fans are annoyed by the amount of traffic and all the obstacles that they had to endure in order to get into the building, on top of the significant price tag to get into the building, is really up for your own interpretation. But if you actually watched the game and paid attention to what the Knicks did with all that energy, they ended up losing 115 to 111. Their 13-game win streak is dead. San Antonio's back in the series. They could have finished the series during that game, and the home court magic that they had just took a body shot. The Knicks still had the lead 2-1, but that's not how it felt walking out of the Garden that night. They gave the San Antonio Spurs life, which means Stephen A. Smith is now contractually obligated by his own mouth to blame the president. and the president was about to find out. So the Knicks lose, and reporters catch Trump on the tarmac before he boards Air Force One. Somebody asks him directly, Stephen A. Smith said he'd blame you if the Knicks lost. How do you respond? And Trump gave the most Trump answer physically possible, saying this.
I think he's a nice guy, but you need a certain aptitude to run for president. You need a high IQ. I'm not sure that Stephen has that. I don't think he does, actually.
Pay attention to what Trump did here. Stephen A. Smith talked about a basketball game, and Trump responded with Stephen A. Smith wanting to run for president. And that's the tell about this entire story. So keep that in the back of your head because I'm going to come back to it later. So Stephen A.'s response on Tuesday morning was honestly hilarious in the most Stephen A. way possible. The man opened first take, standing at a podium in front of a full-size waving American flag graphic. Hail to the Chief was playing. I mean, the man was dressed like he was about to deliver a State of the Union address. The production design alone is a top 5 first take moment all year long. And behind that podium, in the most deadpan face ever, he said this.
Our president showed up in New York City last night. And needless to say, what I feared would happen ended up happening. The New York Knicks lost. And obviously, I'm blaming him. The president disrupted our mojo. The man messed things up.
Then he gets to the IQ comment, and you could tell that this actually pissed off Stephen A. Smith.
I could say I put my IQ up against yours any day of the week. I could ask you why you've been running from me the last year since I've wanted to talk to you. I could ask you to debate me since you think you that dude.
Now, in response to this, Trump would double down. On Wednesday morning at 6:30 a.m. Eastern, after seeing how much his words clearly affected Stephen A., he posted on Truth Social that Stephen A. is an arrogant fool, a low IQ individual, dumb as a rock, and totally unqualified to ever think of running for high political office, or even low political office for that matter. He says Smith would get annihilated in a debate by the most incompetent of politicians, and he dragged Joe Biden's 2024 debate performance into it for comparison. And then he finished his post by saying within a few weeks, they'd laugh him out of politics. So then Stephen A. Smith would bring up the videos that were circulating from the game, clips that appear to show Trump with his eyes closed in Dolan Suite. And he would say this about it.
I'm not gonna accuse him of snoring because I wasn't in earshot. But the brother wasn't awake. If it was that important for you to be there, why did you look like you were asleep?
And then Stephen A. reached for the most radioactive nickname in American politics.
Didn't you call our former President Joe Biden Sleepy Joe? Well, what should we call you?
So that was Stephen A.'s State of the Union address. If the game mattered to you so much, if you caused all these people to have to go through so many obstacles to watch their Knicks finally have a home NBA Finals game, why were you falling asleep during the game? Well, I hate to be this guy, but I have to poke one hole in Stephen A.'s argument. So last year, when the Indiana Pacers faced off against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the NBA Finals, during Game 4, Stephen A. Smith is in the building working as an in-arena analyst for the halftime show, meaning ESPN is paying him specifically to watch this specific basketball game. And a fan sitting behind him snaps a photo of what's actually on his phone. The man is playing solitaire at the NBA Finals that he is being paid to watch. His defense was magnificent. He posted, "Yup, that's me. Who would have thought? I can multitask, especially during timeouts." It's hilarious that he'd say this because the video then surfaced of Stephen A. playing solitaire while live play was happening on the court. Even Kevin Durant piled on, posting the photo and saying, "Come on, Steve." So when Stephen A. Smith asks if it was that important to you to be there, why did you look like you were asleep? Somewhere out there, a deck of cards is asking him the same question. And probably the most bizarre part of all is Stephen A. Smith thought this was a great moment for him to monetize. 5 months later, he became the ambassador of the World Solitaire Championship. So the man monetized his own L, and then in December, he quietly cut ties with the solitaire company after it got hit with a federal lawsuit alleging it uses bots to rig games. So it's kind of interesting that he would bring this up, because if this was an L that he turned into a W, then okay, that's one thing, but this was an L that turned into a brief W that became an even bigger L of him trying to monetize his L. So let's take my opinion aside aside and call this for what it is. Neither of these men watch basketball at basketball games. Fine, they're even, but the IQ insult is the thing that turned this from a bit into a beef.
He could say whatever he want to say. He's the president of the United States. I am not going to take personal what he's saying about me. Low IQ, please. But if I was running, you would have to be worried because I know there's quite a few people I'd smoke, including you, with ease, actually. No disrespect, but I ain't Kamala and I ain't Joe Biden. I'm a little bit different. Didn't say better. I said I'm a little bit different. Those one-liners you'd come up with, I'd have a quick response for those. Little Marco and all of this other stuff. Please, that wouldn't work on me. Anytime, any place, anywhere. You the president, I respect the office. Everybody doesn't get to have Secret Service detail and disrupt the momentum of the biggest city in the nation. You want to call me names? You know why he calling me names? Because he worried too. Because the damn Knicks lost. He worried too. He worried that I might be right, that he might have disrupted that momentum. Stephen A's low IQ. No! You betrayed Knicks fans!
And this has a backstory that nobody's really talking about. Remember the tell from the tarmac? Stephen A talked about a basketball game and Trump answered about a presidential campaign. So let's talk about why he brought that up. So here's what Stephen A Smith said this week on his show. Over a year ago, that same Donald Trump said he would love to see me run for president. He's not exaggerating it, he's underselling it. Trump wasn't just complimentary, Trump was actively recruiting this man into politics. And if you don't believe me, I got the receipts for that. November of 2024, 2 days after the election, Stephen A is on The View and says this.
And you told me I had a legitimate shot to win the presidency. I would definitely consider it.
Then March of 2025, Stephen A Smith's back on The View and he escalates.
You're nearly tied with Pete Buttigieg, AOC, Governor Gretchen Whitmer. What do you make of this?
And I mean it when I say it. I think I can beat them all.
The man was rating his presidential chances like he was ranking trade deadline moves. And then on April 30th, 2025, during a News Nation town hall, Stephen A Smith is on the panel. Trump calls in, and the president of the United States said this about him.
He's a good guy. He's a smart guy. I love watching him. He's got great entertainment skills. I've been pretty good at picking people and picking candidates, and I will tell you, I'd love to see him run.
So Trump went from calling Stephen A Smith a smart guy to dumb as a rock in about 14 months. The only thing that changed between those two quotes was that Stephen A Smith criticized Trump one time. It gets better. On that same network, Bill O'Reilly told Stephen A that
I think you should run. You should send Trump a big bouquet of flowers. He opened the door for you.
The recruitment effort wasn't even subtle. Smith said he'd been approached by people on Capitol Hill, governors, mayors, and elected officials. He said Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna and Steve Bannon both tried to coax him into running, which is kind of significant. I mean, not Stephen A Smith running, but more the fact that you got Steve Bannon and a progressive Democrat both agreeing on the same thing at the same time, and that thing being Stephen A Smith should run for president. In my opinion, I think the reason why Trump soured on Stephen A was even before the time that Stephen A criticized him, because in February of 2026, he told CBS Sunday Morning that he's giving strong consideration to being on that debate stage for 2027 and that he'd run as a Democrat. So the man had a political affiliation picked out and it wasn't Trump's party. But Stephen A would put all of that to bed about a month later on Sean Hannity's podcast.
I don't think you're running. Am I right?
I don't think I'm running either because I got to give up my money. I can tell you right now, let me put that presidential aspirations to bed from if I have to give up my money, it's not happening.
And to be fair, it's fairly significant money. Stephen A. Smith signed a 5-year, $100 million extension with ESPN in March of 2025. And being the leader of the free world simply does not match that package. Although, don't get me wrong, there's other stuff that you could do to make sure you far exceed that package. But you gotta respect Stephen A.'s honesty. Most politicians spend 40 years pretending it's not about the money, and Stephen A. Smith led with that. But here's the thing, this should not come as a surprise to anyone here. Stephen A. Smith has gotten into so many beefs throughout the last year and a half. I mean, starting in March of 2025, where this is a beef that I actually directly played a hand in. Your boy took a video of LeBron James confronting Stephen A. Smith during a Knicks game. I posted that clip onto X, it went super viral. These two got into a beef over Stephen A.'s coverage of LeBron's son Bronny. LeBron told him to stop talking about his son, and as a result, Stephen A. Smith created created this beef that is still going 13 months later. Last month, we covered this on our Flight Mike channel. He got into a beef with Jaylen Brown, an NBA champion and finals MVP. After the Celtics blew a 3-1 lead, Smith said that Brown needs to be quiet and go on vacation unless you're trying to get traded. Brown fired back that he'd be quiet when Smith retires, and then escalated on his live stream saying this.
Fuck Stephen A. Stephen A, Stephen B, Stephen C. My offer still stands. You want me to be quiet and stop streaming? I want you to be quiet and get off these networks, because you're not using your platform to do real journalism. You're using your platform to use clickbait.
So in a span of about 3 weeks, Stephen A. Smith has been involved in debate challenges with an NBA All-Star and the President of the United States. And I think everyone that watches sports is familiar with the Stephen A. Smith formula. This isn't just a coincidence. This is practically Stephen A. Smith's entire business model, leveraging controversy to get more viewers on First Take, and it's why he gets paid so much money. And don't take my own word for it, his own industry is calling him out for this. Nick Wright compared Stephen A. Smith's habit of hinting at secret damaging information about athletes to a mob boss.
Once upon a time, Stephen A. was a legitimately great reporter. But talking to these guys like you're a mob boss and they better watch what they say, there's harm in it. And it makes all of us look bad. And also, here's the other thing. You're the only guy who does it.
Chad Finn had a similar take, but it was a little simpler, saying that if you give these views attention, it only benefits Stephen A. Smith. So, sorry guys. So when Stephen A. Smith picked a fight with Donald Trump, he wasn't doing anything new. He was running the same play he's run on LeBron, on Jaylen Brown, and on half the league. The only difference this time is he finally ran it on the one man in America who's been running the exact same play for 40 years. Longer than Stephen A. Smith, two attention machines built on the same engine colliding at full speed. This was never a feud. This was like when you watched The Rock going up against John Cena at WrestleMania. So in my opinion, who's winning this beef? Well, I don't think there's really a loser. Stephen A. Smith gets to beef with the freaking president of the United States. And Trump gets to dunk on another person just like he typically does. Trump walked away with a culture war storyline that his base gets to eat up, a new foil, and total domination of a news cycle during an NBA Finals that he wasn't even playing in. Every clip of him going at Stephen A. has 7 million views. That's not damage, that's just marketing yourself, which Trump has always been fairly good at. And Stephen A., think about what this man has actually pulled off. He turned down the presidency because it paid too little. These are his words. And 15 months later, he went from beefing with LeBron James to Jaylen Brown to the president of the United States. That is gonna get you a lot of national exposure. And he's getting this exposure for free. There's no campaign, there's no disclosures, he's not giving up $100 million. He gets to stand at a podium in front of an American flag, trade shots with the most powerful man on earth, challenge him to a debate on national television, and then drive home to all of his contracts. That random Twitter reply was a prophecy. Trump didn't insult him, Trump handed him a year of programming overnight free of charge. Sports, politics, and entertainment used to be 3 different businesses. This week it proved that there were one business with 3 different doors, and both of these men have a key to all of them. So I hope I did a good job staying impartial here, because we were pretty nervous when we had to cover someone that was in politics. I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I hope we can have a lighthearted, comical discussion in the comment section down below. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.